of consumers are cutting down on unnecessary expenses because of soaring prices.
We actually don't think rate cuts will be on the table anytime soon. So we do expect inflation to soften, to go back within target sometime maybe in December or January of this year.
Statistics authorities said the gross domestic product or GDP growth expanded to 5.9% in July to September.
The Philippines is an archipelagic country consisting of at least 7,641 islands and sits in the tropical zone of the Pacific Ocean. Dubbed as the Pearl of the Orient, its location and bountiful resources exposes the country to economic trade routes in the Southeast Asian regions. The economic history of the Philippines can be traced back during the different phases and influences of colonization, agrarian economy, and industrialization. During the pre-colonial period or before the Spanish colonization in 1565, the Philippines had a thriving economy based on agriculture, trade, and local craftsmanship. Barter systems were common among indigenous communities during that time. When the Spaniards came, they introduced a feudal system and focused on agricultural production. They also established encomiendas, large landed estates worked by indigenous people. Manila became a major trading hub connecting Asia and the Americas through the galleon trade. However, when the country was under American rule in 1898 to 1946, the U.S. implemented policies that transformed the economy, including the introduction of public education, infrastructure development, and changes in land tenure systems. Moreover, during the Japanese occupation in 1942 to 1945, the Philippines suffered. Because of the war, the economy was severely affected due to the damaged infrastructures and resource depletion. In 1946, the Philippines gained independence, which was the post-war period. And that's the time when people saw efforts to rebuild and modernize the economy. Import substitution industrialization was the key strategy to reduce dependence on imports. Moving to the Marcos regime, the economy of the Philippines in his early term was said to have relied heavily on foreign loans, which was pointed out by some economists during 1966 to 1970 as the root of economic problems in the country for the following years until in the present times. When the former president declared martial law, he continued his strategy of relying on international loans to fund the projects that would support the booming economy. However, his economic management failed due to corruption and economic mismanagement. Now, moving on to the 20th century up to this present time, economic liberalization and structural reforms are initiated which encourage foreign investments. The country experienced growth through service sectors like the business process outsourcing or the BPO industry and remittances from overseas Filipino workers.
Economic landscape of the Philippines, the trade deficit unfolded a narrative of change and challenge. As of October 2023, the deficit widened, reaching $4.17 billion compared to $3.31 billion in the same month a year earlier. Diving into the details, exports experienced a notable downturn, contracting 17.5% to $6.36 billion, a 6-month low. The decline was predominantly led by reduced sales in electronic products, down by 28.9%. Coconut oil and machinery and transport equipment also faced declines of 16.9% and 3.6%, respectively. On the other side of the equation, imports saw a milder contraction, falling by 4.4% to $10.54 billion. This dip was influenced by decreased purchases, particularly in electronic products, which saw a decline of 21.2%. Other categories contributing to the softer imports included other food and live animals, cereals and cereal preparations, and mineral fuels, lubricants, and related materials. Zooming out to view the bigger picture, the trade gap for January to October registered at 44.7 billion US dollars, a notable improvement from the corresponding period last year, where the deficit stood at 50.1 billion US dollars.
The third quarter of 2023, the Philippines experienced a robust 5.9% growth in gross domestic product. This growth has propelled by key sectors: wholesale and retail trade, repair of vehicles, financial insurance activities, and construction. Specifically, wholesale and retail trade, along with vehicle repair, surged by 5%. Financial and insurance activities experienced a substantial 9.5% growth, while construction boomed with an impressive 14% increase. Other sectors also contributed positively to this economic surge. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing saw a 0.9 increase, while industry and services recorded notable growths of 5.5% and 6.8% respectively. On the demand side, significant expansions were noted in various areas. Household final consumption expenditure rose by 5%, showcasing increased spending by households. Government final consumption expenditure grew by 6.7%, signifying increased spending by the government. Additionally, there was a 2.6% growth in exports of goods and services, highlighting an upswing in international trade activities. Overall, these positive growths across sectors and demand categories signify a robust and diverse economic expansion for the Philippines in the third quarter of 2020. Going back, December 2020 witnessed a contraction in the Philippines' total external trade in goods by negative 5.6%, a notable decline from the December 2019 preliminary report, which recorded a growth of 6.1%. The annual downturn in the December 2020 preliminary report amounted to 13.66 billion, resulting in an overall trade deficit of negative 2.18 billion, indicating a decline of negative 26.4%. Export sales posted negative growth of negative 0.02%. Export sales posted negative growth of negative 0.02%, amounting to 5.74 billion US dollars, while importing value continued its descent, reaching 7.92 billion US dollars.
Given the unprecedented circumstances of the global pandemic in 2020, the Philippines experienced a significant annual percentage decline in its economy. The total export value of PPEs and medical supplies during the pandemic was recorded at 3.32 million US dollars, with notable decrease in face shields and face masks. Moving to December 2021, there was a noteworthy recovery in the Philippines' external trade, amounting to 17.75 billion US dollars, signifying an annual growth of 24.5%. However, the trade deficit increased by 112.8% compared to December 2020, reaching a negative 5.2 billion US dollars. Export sales exhibited positive growth at 6.2 billion US dollars, marking an annual increase of 7.1%. The annual total export for the year amounted to 74.64 billion US dollars, representing a 14.5% increase. Export value of PPEs and medical supplies dropped to 1 million US dollars, with surgical face masks and non-surgical face masks experiencing a downtrend of export value by negative 64.5% in December 2021. Shifting to December 2022, total external trade decreased to 15.9 billion US dollars, reflecting an annual decline of negative 9.9%. The trade deficit reduced by negative 10.2%, amounting to negative 4.6 billion US dollars. Export sales growth turned negative at 5.6 billion US dollars, indicating a 9.7% negative annual decrease. Throughout the 3 years, manufactured goods consistently remained in the Philippines' largest contributor to total exports, reaching its highest record value in December 2020 at $4.98 billion. Electronics emerged as the primary contributor to the country's export sales, with its peak recorded at December 2021 at $3.65 billion. In December 2021, among 10 commodity groups in terms of export value, coconut oil showed the highest annual increase at 135.2%, followed by manufactured goods and chemicals. However, by December 2022, coconut oil experienced a significant drop of negative 35.5%. The top commodity groups contributing to annual growth included cathodes of refined copper at 69.1%, ignition wiring sets for vehicles, aircrafts, and ships, other mineral products, and machinery and transport equipment.
So the Philippines' top imports are mainly electronic products, industrial machinery, general merchandise or goods, and raw materials and construction materials such as iron and steel. And for the country's top export, these are coconut oil, electronic parts, manufactured goods, and agricultural products such as sugarcane, rice, bananas, and copper. So the Philippine Tariff and Custom Code is like the rule book for anyone bringing goods into or out of the Philippines. It's a comprehensive set of guidelines that cover everything from how to handle custom procedures to the costs and fees associated with imports and export. So, one of the key aspects outlined in this code is the classification of goods using the harmonized system. So, what is the harmonized system? The harmonized system is an international nomenclature for the classification of product. It allows participating countries to classify traded goods on a common basis for customs purposes. And in the international level, the harmonized system for classifying goods is a 6-digit code system. It's a bit like putting things into different categories, but these categories are important because they determine the taxes and charges applied to these goods. Now, some items need more than just regular clearance. They require special permits or licenses from the Philippine government. This applies particularly to goods like firearms, hazardous chemicals, agricultural products, and pharmaceutical. Without green light from the authorities, these items can't make their way in or out of the countries. So the Philippines also has these agreements called Free Trade Agreements or FTAs with various countries and regions. These agreements are designed to make trading easier by reducing or even eliminating certain tariffs, quotas, and barriers to trade. They're like mutual handshake deals that aim to boost commerce between the Philippines and its trade partners. Understanding this aspect of the code is crucial for businesses or individuals involved in importing or exporting goods. It's like knowing the playbook before getting into the game of international trade. There are also things or products that cannot be imported or exported from the Philippines. So here is a list of things that are strictly forbidden. First, any written or printed stuff that promotes rebellion, violence against the government, or threats to harm someone in the Philippines. Basically, anything stirring up trouble or endangering people. Second is items specifically made for illegal abortions or any printed material that talks about how to do them. That's a big no. Third is anything that's just not suitable for public eyes. Obscene or really inappropriate stuff, whether it's written, drawn, or photographed or filmed. So fourth is goods made from precious metals like gold or silver that don't show the real quality. You've got to be honest about what you're selling. Fifth is food or things for people to use that are fake or not safe according to the laws about food and drugs. So selling dodgy stuff is a big no-no. Sixth is products that violate intellectual property rights. So basically anything that's a copy without permission. Seventh is anything else that our authorities have specifically said cannot be brought in or taken out of the country. So it's basically at least to keep everyone safe honest, and following the rules when it comes to bringing things in or out of the Philippines. Compliance with export and import regulation can help businesses avoid delays, fines, confiscations of goods, and legal actions, and ensure smooth operation in international trade activities.
By major trading partner, exports to the United States of America co-share of 15.5% to the total exports during the month of January 2022. While the Philippines' main import partners are China, 13%, the United States, 11%, Japan, 8%, and Taiwan, 8%. The Philippines and the United States share a long-standing economic partnership rooted in history, trade agreements, and mutual interest. From the historical ties stemming from the Philippine colonial past to their current trade agreements, this relationship has sustained itself over time. The demand for Philippine exports, particularly electronics and agricultural products, significantly influences the volume of trade between the two countries. Beyond economic aspects, their collaboration extends to military and security cooperation, deepening their alliance in the Asia-Pacific region. However, the dynamic nature of global markets, evolving political landscapes, and the rise of new economic powers pose potential challenge to this partnership future. While the U.S. currently holds a significant role as a trading partner for the Philippines, future shift in global dynamics could alter this landscape. Meanwhile, China's manufacturing capabilities allow it to produce goods at lower costs compared to many other countries. This results in a trade imbalance when the Philippines imports more from China than it exports. Products like electronics, machinery, textiles, and consumer goods are often cheaper when imported from China. China's investment in Philippine infrastructure projects also contribute to the import relationship. Sometimes, materials and machineries required for these projects are sourced from China, further boosting imports. Many industries in the Philippines rely on components and raw materials sourced from China. This dependency on Chinese imports is often due to cost-effectiveness and availability. Filipino consumers often prefer Chinese-made products due to their affordability and sometimes perceived quality, which drives the demand for these imports.
Global economies are significantly impacted by the complex economic idea of trade balance interdependence on the world market. It speaks of the complex web of ties that exist between nations with regard to capital, goods, and service exchanges, as well as the ways in which these exchanges impact the trade balance of each country. Taking this connection into consideration leads to several important conclusions. First, global supply chain. The intricate web of global supply chain has a significant impact on trade balances. Products are frequently built or manufactured in another country using raw materials or components that are sourced from multiple nations. Any disturbance in one region of the world might cause ripple effects via these networks, affecting international trade balances. Economic interdependence. In the global economy, countries rely on one another. It is common for a deficit in one nation to match a surplus in another. A nation has trade surplus, for example, export more goods and services than it imports, which frequently leaves its trading partners in the negative. Third, we have currency exchange rates. Trade balances can be greatly impacted by fluctuations in currency exchange rates. A country's currency depreciates, making its exports more competitive on the international market and possibly creating a trade surplus. On the other hand, a stronger currency could lead to a trade imbalance by increasing imports. Fourth, we have policy implications. Tariff subsidies and currency manipulations are just a few of the measurements government use to affect trade balance. Nevertheless, these actions may have unforeseen repercussions, including retaliatory actions or changes to international trade patterns. Effects on economies. Trade imbalances have an impact on stability, employment, and economic growth. Long-term deficits or surpluses could be an indication of a macroeconomic imbalance, a reliance on imports too much, or a lack of export competitiveness. Next, we have global economic stability. Because trade balances are interconnected, changes or crises in one nation can have a significant impact on other nations. The global financial crisis of 2008 serves as an example of how connectivity increased the impact, causing shocks to travel across borders and have an influence on economies all around the world. Effects on the environment and society. International commerce may have an impact on social conditions and environmental sustainability. Transportation, labor practices, and raw material procurement all have an impact on the environment. In the context of interconnected global trade, striking a balance between ecological practice and economic growth is imperative. The cooperation, honest communication, and coordinated international policy are necessary for comprehending and navigating the complex interconnection. In an increasingly interconnected global market, stability and sustained economic growth depend on understanding of how actions affect the larger global community.